Hello, I am Dr. Lisa Wiedemann, an optometric physician for over 33 years and carnivore for almost 16 years now. And this topic is one that comes up so often and is so important because if you have struggled the struggle I have through most of my life of dealing with sugar and carb and processed food addiction, you know that it is very easy to, what they say, fall off the wagon, or what I like to say, fall into the carb ditch. And there is some really important things to think about in each of your social situations because I'm going to tell you here social situations are by far the number one reason that people stray off course, fall in that carb ditch, and stop their healthy eating plan, sometimes momentarily, sometimes for a long period of time, because it's not so easy to get back on the wagon. And it can be a situation where it can take a very long time. So I wanted to go over in, I guess, a simplified way of giving you a lot of things to think about. And through this video, you're going to start learning different ways to navigate the social situations. And the reason why I bring this up, particularly now, we're in mid October, is this real critical period, these 3 months of a onslaught of triggers and an escalation of the amount of social gatherings, social situations that we encounter. So here's the key thing. If you continue to give yourself permission to indulge in sugar and carbs, you're just choosing to stay actively in your addiction. And it really is not different from an alcoholic or a drug addict or a smoker. Abstinence truly is the answer. And I know for me, it took quite a while to grasp the concept. This was through a lifetime of just thinking I didn't have willpower. I didn't know why I had disordered eating. I couldn't figure it out. But there wasn't a thought that this was actually an addiction similar to other drugs. And it absolutely is. And if you're not aware of that, then think to yourself, this is really something important to think about. If you have decided and you know from your knowledge and education and what you've researched that certain foods, certain food groups are absolutely detrimental to your health, then why are we going back to putting them in our mouth? Even if it's just for this party or just for this holiday or just for this weekend, why would you put something to your body that you've determined is pretty much inflammatory, toxic, and absolutely not going to lead you to optimal health? So when you think about it in those terms, you have to think that doing something that's against what you know is really the definition of an addiction, is going back and doing something that's actually what you consider harmful. So yeah, Carrie, I see you over in the live chat here. Halloween candy is the hardest. So let's think about why I have in the past called this the excuse trifecta: October, November, December. And it's so easy to make excuses. It really is. And it's because, and I call that ditch demon up there who's rooting you on to just say, it's just Halloween. It's just a little chocolate. It's just one little fun size, right? Do you have the fun size up in Canada, Carrie? I know you're up in Canada, but here in the States, Halloween time, it's bags and bags and bags of these fun size. And you just think, well, it's just one little fun size. And, one is too many and 100 is never enough. So the excuse trifecta really ends up it starts in September, early September. The Halloween decorations are coming out, the chocolate's coming out. You can barely walk into a store without actually smelling the aroma of milk chocolate at this point. And I remember the days when my kids would go trick or treating and they come in for a little dinner break. I'm already eyeing what they have. Oh my gosh, this is a new kind of M&M or whatever it is. And then my resolve would go. This was back when this is before I found carnivore, and this was when I knew about low carb, I knew about Atkins, I knew that sugar was problematic for me, but it was just one or two, or maybe one of each different of my favorites, just one fun size, right? And it became a ongoing. It wasn't just that day, then it was more and more. And then of course you go the sale 75% off the day after Halloween and it just continued and it rode right into Thanksgiving where there was the prep, the planning, the family traditions and thinking I can't possibly not have my dad's famous stuffing or the mousse pumpkin pie, this creamy one that was mixed with whipped cream. It was some crazy recipe that my mom made each Thanksgiving that was just incredible. And there I was again, back in it. And again, this was before I found carnivore, but I knew better. I was trying to be good, but there was always the excuse, well, it's just Thanksgiving and I don't get this any other time of the year, right? So again, it's this perpetual, let's just keep making an excuse, give myself permission. So my ditch demon goes, yes, dig in, have another piece, go ahead. So we have to really be serious about the thought of what we're actually doing when we are indulging in this. So the social dynamics that are there is we have peer influence. Let's just say we're out with friends, we're having a holiday dinner gathering, or we're at a party. We as humans really like to feel like we belong, like we fit in, not that we're that crazy meat eating carnivore lady over there, right? We like to feel um, welcome and socially accepted, right? Group behavior and shared eating is part of so many social events. And realistically, we don't like to feel like we're being judged. We don't like to feel like we are potentially being excluded from some invitations because of the way we eat. All of these have an influence of how we act and how we eat when we are in these specific social events. Psychological factors, we have emotional triggers, whether there's a little anxiety or stress, or we're emotionally charged sometimes in these events when there's certain people there. There's certain social pressures. It might be a work event. And then this last one is a very interesting term. I don't know if all of you have heard it. We talk about it in my groups because it comes up very often, and it's called post-event collapse. And the scenario is, let's say you're at a wedding, or maybe you're at a weekend away with friends at a cabin, and you have this entire time set your mind to, I'm only eating my food. I know that's not my food. It's inflammatory. I have a goal. I want to try to reverse my diseases, get off my you're just so into it and you're so good and you're so diligent about avoiding putting anything in your mouth. And you get home after that whole event, whether it's a whole entire afternoon of a wedding with trigger foods parading by and being served the whole day. You get home and here comes post-event collapse where it's this white knuckle and it's it's very common. You dig in and you end up in the ditch right then and there, and you use the excuse of I deserve it. I was or sometimes it's like you don't even want to be in that position, but you feel compelled after a very intense period of time of warding off falling into that ditch. So um, it's interesting. Think about that if you feel like you've ever been, let's say, victim to that. Here's another real good hint. Feel confident about expressing your food preferences. Communicate that dietary needs that you have, set boundaries, and don't feel guilty about it. You're doing this for your health. You're not doing this to give anybody a hard time. You have to not feel guilty about it. The vegetarians don't feel guilty at all declining the meat and asking for an appropriate food. I don't like to really use that example, but it really is one that kind of should hit us all as thinking about yeah, I have every right to ask for, especially if you're at a restaurant. It's a little more difficult if you're a visitor at someone's home. It makes it more difficult, but you can do it in a very friendly way, a very nice way, a very accommodating way. You can bring your own food, you can go shop for your own food. And you have to really think about that you are worth it and this is not a big deal. And people actually who care about you will want to accommodate you. At these events, stay engaged with the people, not the food. Eat before you go so you're not starving and eyeing down every item on the buffet. This is for social interaction. Participate in the activities and not the food. Focus on conversations, focus on the people, and it will make the event as you attend multiple of them throughout the holiday period an interesting observation. I like to um, observe the habits of others and the food issue. And I really do observe that the majority of people are also addicted. They just don't really know it or understand it. So, but it's it's interesting to change your focus off of the food. Find out what's being served ahead of time if possible. Eat before you go so you're not starving when you get there if there's not great choices. Offer to bring something that you can eat that you can share with everyone. Oh my gosh, like cheddar bacon meatballs are delicious. Make bacon knots. Um, do bacon wrapped scallops or shrimp. Um, do a charcuterie board with cheese and charcuterie meats. All of these are options. And if you feel you're being pressed to try something, like this is so good, you have to try it. You have to have in your vocabulary, right at the tip of your tongue, oh, no, thank you. I figured out that I really don't feel well when I eat that. Isn't that strange? I just don't. But thanks anyway. It looks delicious. It's so simple. Um, oh, and then I skipped over review your why before the event. So important. Just know your core reason, that why that makes you cry, that reason that you really figured out why you're changing a large part of what you approve of to go into your mouth because you have to really think long and hard. Why would you want to ruin that? Why would you want to sabotage that just for momentary, let's say, pleasure? And most of the time, as many people say, really doesn't even taste as good as I remember it. And then this is important, cheat meals lead to cheat days, lead to cheat months, lead to cheat holiday season. And for many, and believe me, I know from doing my groups for the past 5 years, there are people who end up off the rails for an entire year before they decide to pick themselves up, brush themselves off, and really get serious about figuring this out. That any sort of lapse you have to look at as a learning experience and truly learn from it. And who are we really cheating anyway? And a lot of these have to be thoughts that you really, really think about. I say, take screenshots of these and put it in a little album and look through, because you'll see I'm going to be throwing some really, like, I'll call them golden nuggets of what you need to keep thinking about. Holidays, like we spoke about, are exponentially harder. There's family traditions, meals, and get togethers. And a lot of times you're out of your own routine, potentially not even in your own home for a few days. You don't have your kitchen, you don't have your food. And it's a little, I'll say it, nope, it's a lot more challenging, but it's certainly doable. There's, the pre-cooked bacon in a box. There's carnivore bars. There's you can make your own dehydrated meat. You can get to your destination and you can go out and get your food. Um, so the other reasons why it's so much harder is there's so many triggers. There's your favorite foods from your childhood. There's some added stress and anxiety from family issues, and the many, many events between October through New Year's. We end up being surrounded by the very drug that we are addicted to. So it's incredibly difficult. Everyone around you is happily engaging in my non sober behavior foods. And I'm typically being encouraged and pushed to eat with these people and have some chocolate mousse. And oh my gosh, let's split the whatever it is. And, again, just keep thinking about that phrase that I said, oh gosh, no, thank you. I figured out I really don't feel good when I eat that, but thank you. Just have that as a real simple, kind, calm thing to say. And if somebody comes at you with, and a lot of us have this, we have friends, family, and coworkers who are very eager to let you know what you're doing is going to kill you. They never mentioned that when you were eating pizza and ice cream and cookies, but now that we're eating ancestrally appropriate meat and seafood and eggs, now all of a sudden we're going to kill ourselves, right? But anytime you get any sort of um, pushback of how they're concerned about what you're doing, and some of them are legitimately concerned because they don't know better. They don't know anything about really how I eat. But they will come at me and you. And I just say, thank you so much for your concern. But, I feel great. I'm feeling better and better. Or I say, I've never felt better, but really, thanks for your concern, and just end it like that. So I do have a naysayers YouTube video. Naysayers, it actually it's a whole video about what to say back in these kind of social situations. So remember, your health does not give a crap about your excuses. There's no excuse that's worth really risking your health. So just keep remembering that. And I'll throw at you some more of these. Your health is more important than the approval of others. I really like this one because that's one of the feelings that we often get is that other people are not approving of the way I eat. You know what? It doesn't matter. I know it's not a good feeling. Trust me, I know. I've lived through it for almost 16 years of doing this. It's not a good feeling when you feel people are either rolling their eyes at you or feeling so adamant that what you're doing is so wrong. And don't you know meat causes gout? Don't you know meat causes an acidic body that will give you cancer? Don't you know? Don't you know? Don't you know cholesterol is going to give you heart disease? It's like it's tiring, but just keep remembering it's all about you. Be selfish. Your health is more important than any approval of anybody else. Here's another big one. You don't owe anyone an explanation about what is on your plate. You don't owe anyone an explanation about what you put in your mouth and chew and swallow. It's none of their business. But if they're truly interested and you can sense if somebody's really truly interested and then have the conversation and then it's awesome. I know many of you have had conversations with friends, loved ones or coworkers and actually converted people who were really truly genuinely interested. So I don't shy away from having intelligent, awesome discussions about the topic. You learn very quickly who really genuinely has an interest and who is just there to give a little digger just to rile you up. It is doing what most people don't and most people won't that will get you to your goals. It's another really great, great thing to remember because it's so easy to go off the rails. It's so easy to convince yourself to have a cheat meal. Identify as Team Carb Sober. We are ambassadors of another tribe, foreign to most everyone else around us. We do not cause our bodies harm by eating foolishly now and regretting it later. Such a great thing to reread and remember. Get your inner strength about this. You've done a lot of research to be right here. Those of you, thank you so much for joining me live here tonight. Um, you know, it's you all have done a lot to even get yourself in this position where you're watching someone like me. You don't come upon this like on a whim. So just think to yourself, um, get that strength, get that confidence, and say, you know what? I'm not where I want to be yet. I'm on my way. I can visualize it. And these are my people. And as much as you can, try to surround yourself with those people. Now, I'm going to say for sure, I don't have these people here, right here in my vicinity. I don't have my close circle of friends where I live. There aren't any carnivores here. And guess what? It's it's so important to be around people who get you. So I do that virtually online, and that's why I'm so passionate to continue the groups. I go live 4 to 5 times a week. You come in, and you are part of my tribe, and the people in there become each other's virtual internet tribe. And then you start meeting up at meetups, you travel places, and these people truly become your people. And it's just an incredible thing. But just think about this, identify as Team Carb Sober and have strength in that. Even though they're not there at the party with you, they're there with you. I have, within my membership group, I have a, a separate private chat where it's 24/7 and I call it Team Sober. And you're there for accountability and support and to be able to reach out and talk to multiple people at any point, because it's that important to stay connected. Because you know what? Addictions love isolation. They really do. And when you feel very alone in your home, I am like so floored by those of you who have spouses who you've converted, or maybe they've converted you, and you have that support system. It is amazing. But I'm going to say the majority of people don't have that. And it is very difficult to stay the course unless you have your own team Carb Sober. And doesn't matter where you get it from. There's a lot of people out here who host groups, and I can't encourage you enough to get in and connect. I could say maybe those of you who join me, I'm on here every Tuesday night, and so I can see some of you who are repetitive uh, uh, people who join into here on my lives, and I'm so happy that um, you're here and can communicate with each other. And maybe this is your hour each week where you feel like you're connecting with your Team Carb Sober. So um, here's the next one. Focus on consistent, intentional choices and decisions that align with your long-term goals. I, you know, um, I have what I call a Wide document PDF, and it's in my membership group where it's a whole write-up of this document that you fill out. And I have different sections on it aside from your intense why. But one of the things I tell the members to put on there are things just like this, things that if you read this each morning, you skim through the document, you get to know what these things are that you're using to really strengthen your resolve to stop eating toxic, inflammatory foods, sugars, grains, processed food, seed oils, right? This is what I'm talking about. I don't care if you're keto, low carb, carnivore-ish, ketovore-ish, lion diet adjacent. It doesn't matter. What matters is you have decided what foods you feel peace and freedom around because you have sober behavior with it. And if you put words like this and you remind yourself of them daily, I say when you wake up in the morning and before you go to bed at night, you have gratitudes in there. There's different sections, but things like this, and read them and be feeling really positive about all of the different choices that you are making in regards to your health and getting away from this addiction. And yes, I'm going to keep using that word addiction. I'm going to keep using that word sober because it is near and dear to my heart. It is the crux of what has allowed me to come out of the horrible, horrible place that I was in. Excuses are clever distractions from the life you want. Don't be fooled. Remember that ditch demon up there? He's so eager to root you in. Just come on, just a little. Come on, don't offend. Don't offend the host. You don't want her to feel badly. There's all sorts of excuses, and they're just truly a distraction from really you getting to your point B, your optimal health. All right, now you have 100% control over what you put in your mouth. Ask yourself, is this food going to lead to health or harm? And do I have sober behavior with this food? You have to take responsibility and know that no one is coming to save you. Stop making all of the excuses that are only hurting you at the end of the day. Nothing good in life comes easily, but trust me when I say that you being your healthiest, happiest self is worth more than all the difficulty of resisting the addictive toxic food. and it's worth every ounce of hard work it takes to get there. So I want to emphasize with this that I know this isn't easy. Come on, guys. You know how many times you've been triggered. You know how many times you have faltered and fallen. This stuff is not easy. And some people will say, well, I can't tell myself I can't ever eat Halloween candy again because then all I want to do is eat it. Well, you know what? Dig your heels in, get through the 3 to 5 days or 3 to 5 weeks, whatever it's going to take for you to finally get that peace from the physical cravings, but get through it. You're going to keep using that excuse, oh, I can't tell myself I can't have sugar anymore or sweeteners. Just a It's a big excuse. I'm just going to say it. I think I have a little bit of a reputation of I don't coddle. Let's put it that way. I can be really pretty blunt, but it's from my sincere desire of helping you get through the issue you potentially have with food like I did. And it's really important. So here I host Carb Sober Holiday Challenge every year and live Zoom meetings 4 to 5 times a week. This gives support, accountability, and you become part of a really strong, united community concentrated on optimal health and getting through the holidays carb sober. I have a big 12-step document that when you come into the challenge, and you can join any day of the month. This isn't a month by month thing, but join soon because we've only got 2 weeks into the chocolate onslaught. But it's to help make it through Halloween, Thanksgiving, all the whole month of December without falling into the damn ditch. And I have a Carb Sober cruise coming up in February if anybody's interested. I just found out today that Fred Hahn, the slow burn strength training expert, is coming on the cruise also. And we have Bella and Max, Steak and Butter Gal, and Guy coming on. And it's just going to be, again, a connection and a way of, I think for some people, it'll be their first time potentially being on vacation and not giving themselves the excuse to go hit the dessert buffet. I don't know, might be pretty exciting time for some people, but it's going to be just relaxing. This is not all day lecture. No, no, no. We're out in the Caribbean. We're going to be getting sunshine. And it's going to be a connection, a way of connecting with a lot of amazing people that you'll go home with lots of emails and phone numbers, and some people might even actually live close enough to connect and meet up once a month. Here's a recap of some key points. You have to be mindful and prepared heading into every single event, realizing there's going to be some very unexpected triggers that are going to come at you. Review that why to confirm the reason why you want to stick to your goals and your food plan, and stop making excuses, and be very aware of the post-event collapse, relapse, when you are diligently staying on track and then all of a sudden there's a major ditch, slide down the slippery slope right into a ditch. So be cautious of that. So if you've gotten some value out of this video, I'd love if you could hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification, all those things that they have on here, so that the algorithm will hopefully show this video and help others stay away from having the thought that the cheat meal is a-okay. In my book, there is no cheat meal. Why would I want to cheat myself out of health and have the inflammation and weight gain from, for me, it ends up, like I said, the cheat meal leads into more and more. It always was that way back when I was going in and out of the ditch, back and forth, until I finally found that zeroing in on health group and found the knowledge that this really, really, truly is an addiction, and we can't moderate. An alcoholic doesn't moderate one shot of tequila every other weekend, right? What makes any of us think that we're able to, dive into whatever our favorite DOC, my term, the drug of choice. So, um, all right, I am going to head over here into the chat and um, oh, Monica from Bighorn Mountains in Wyoming. I had the pleasure when I was out in Wyoming to sample some of the amazing beef that was provided by so many awesome ranchers out there. So, thank you. So Brenda says she almost fell in the carb ditch yesterday. Here I'm supposed to be. Hi, Holly. Yeah, and it really depends on your past history with with all of these different triggers for you. Whether big time trigger was Halloween for me always because I'm a chocolate fiend, and then the next thing, as soon as Halloween was over, it was the start of you know Christmas cookie bake swaps and the starts of all of the holiday onslaught of triggers. So it just was one big blur. Um, oh, this is awesome. William says he doesn't even hand out candy. That's really the way to go. And Monica says every third day I crave carbs, sugar. Why is that? Is it hormonal? Okay. Um, Monica, there is a very interesting video, and I'm going to link it. I'm going to link it in here because I think it will really give you insight. It talks about specific parts of the microbiome that are literally screaming and crying and craving the carbs for you to feed it, and that's part of the cravings. And until you get to the point where those die off, and then there's going to be another subset that about 3 weeks in will do another die off of not craving the carbs. It's a really, really interesting video. So I'm going to write a little note here. I'm going to post that video down in the notes as soon as I get off. Because no, I don't think it's hormonal, that 3-day thing. When you watch this video, you're gonna say, "Wow, that's really cool to learn that," and hopefully will give you the impetus to say, "I'm just gonna get through this, and it's going to get better." Let's keep going here. I have a close relative that eats cereal, ice cream, sugary garbage. He's 39. I keep passing the message. Heartbreak. Yeah, Christina, I've talked about this so much because it is such a heartbreak for so many who have grown adult kids who are suffering and not believing them that this meat thing is the way to go. Loved ones, my own parents, my brother. I've lived that difficulty for a long time. You have to lead by example. Try to, as best you can, give bits of information when appropriate, and you have to let it go. At least that was I ended up feeling that way because you don't get anywhere by nagging. And if somebody's not open to the information, there's no way that they're going to change to this way. And like I said, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him carnivore. Um, oh, awesome. So yeah, candy. Holly's going to hand out not candy, but the mini Archer jerky sticks. That's super. I like the dentist approach, hand out toothbrushes and floss. Oh, that's cool too. I like this. The hand out the glow bracelets. Kids love that kind of stuff, but unfortunately, we're where, they've got an entire bag of chocolate and candy and Twizzlers and gummy bears, and but at least we're not adding to it. And Cindy says, I had challah bread yesterday, was miserable all night with heartburn, gas, and bloating. I took the remainder of the loaf in the trash, covered it with dish soap. It will take 3 days to recover. Yeah. So what you do with something like that is, in my why document, you would be writing a little journal entry about that. And as you skim through this document in the morning when you get up and at night before you go to bed, you read this and you're reminded of that misery, and it helps propel success for that day. Let's see. Peaceful Wolf Retirement says, I've been a winner on alcohol and tobacco for over 50 years, but sugar is really tricky with ice cream and chocolate. Yeah, sure is. It's much harder. I know people who've overcome hard drugs, alcohol, tobacco, and by far they say that the food is the absolute hardest of them all. Come on, guys, you gotta remember, everybody around us is just enjoying it and laughing, and where are we going? What are we having? What are we eating? Everything's revolving around food, and not just food, but the inflammatory, addictive garbage that we are absolutely dead set about telling ourselves we need to abstain from. And all these other addictions don't have that kind of situation. You don't, quit smoking and then sit at a table of people puffing and blowing and, drinking and smoking right in your face every day, multiple times a week. In a scenario like that, you remove yourself from things like that, like an alcoholic overcoming alcohol. You stop going to the bars, right? But with this food thing, everybody's eating ice cream and chocolate and cookies and everything around us, bagels and pizza and, you name it. So, yeah, this is by far the most challenging thing, I contend, most challenging thing that you will do. Um, Nicole and Alexa says, my plans to have carnivore foods I don't normally have, like pork rinds, cheese, and carnivore desserts like the pumpkin custard that I posted. This will be my first carnivore holiday season. Perfect. Great, great plan. Yeah, I have a video. Yeah, I should repost that. That was probably a couple Thanksgivings ago, but it's a pumpkin custard, but there's no sweetener. It has pumpkin pie spice. I know technically that's not carnivore, but it's basically um, heavy cream and egg, pretty much steamed in a nice, little ceramic carafe. And you can even whip some heavy cream, put it on, sprinkle a little more cinnamon, cardamom, and vanilla bean powder. And it's really quite delicious. And so, yeah, feel like you're treating yourself to different things and that, you don't normally have. And I say, even if you have to binge on a pound of bacon, it's better than a single bite of pie. Okay, Monica says, mindset's a good approach, but it's short-term effectiveness. I have to repeat and convince myself daily to stay on track. Yep. That is why I'm so adamant. And I talk about this in my group and we have discussions about this, but it has to be, aside from the morning and the evening review of your why document, that again has lots of stuff in it. It's gratitudes, there's some journaling, there's a section on people that we need to keep in a cautionary zone, places also, like we're not shopping in places where we used to get our favorite DOC, all these kind of things. You review them because without that, it's very easy when you're thrown in front of a trigger to be triggered and to give in, because the addiction is really, really strong. All right. William says, I do fine at family events. I just take a bottle of Topo Chico and act as if I'm bulletproof. That's great. It's a great plan, especially if there's lots of drinking going on. Alcohol's a surefire way into the ditch, and I highly, highly recommend everybody avoid. It's no different than sugar. It gets metabolized in the same way, and don't think for a second that um, that is not going to eventually derail you. Andy says, I'm on day 11 of ketovore, slowly trying to go carnivore. So far, it's good. Yeah, you can ease into it as long as on your ketovore list of foods, you have all foods that you have sober behavior around. And that's why typically with keto, you eventually start shifting keto-ish kind of things because a lot of times they are what cause the overeating. Like for me, I don't make chili with tomato paste and onions and garlic because I will tend to overeat that as opposed to plain, beautiful, delicious salted ground beef. It's a different level of um, volume eating when it's all chilied out. So those are things that you learn along the way, and maybe some people are actually perfectly fine staying keto. So I don't like to impose my opinion. I'm just coming from my the severity of my addiction. So all right. Thank you so much for joining in. I really appreciate it. Again, if you wouldn't mind, hit the like, hit the subscribe, the whole thing. I am so passionate to continue giving as much information as I can from the success of my journey on this. And I'm glad you're here.